What if the FBI wasn't just watching on January 6th, but secretly part of it? That's the explosive claim shaking Washington tonight. Just days after former FBI Director James Comey was indicted, Donald Trump has turned his sights on another familiar name, Christopher Wray, the man Trump himself once appointed to lead the Bureau. And now, Trump is demanding answers. He insists that hundreds of undercover agents were mixed into the crowd at the Capitol, not as law enforcement, but as agitators. It's a stunning accusation, one that could ignite a new political firestorm, fuel Trump supporters, and send his critics into outrage. But here's the question no one can avoid. Is Trump uncovering a hidden conspiracy or rewriting history to settle old scores? Trump didn't hold back. In a fiery Truth Social post, he claimed the FBI secretly planted 274 undercover agents inside the January 6th crowd. Not as protectors, not as peacekeepers, but as agitators, pushing chaos, fueling the violence, and leaving his supporters to take the blame. He wrote, "I want to know who each and every one of these so-called agents are and what they were up to on that now historic day." For Trump, this wasn't just about pointing fingers. It was about rewriting the story of January 6th, shifting it from an insurrection to a setup. He called the defendants in Jan 6 cases great American patriots, people who, in his words, paid a very big price only for the love of their country. And then came the promise, I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. It was a line designed to do two things at once. Rally his base, who've long believed the FBI targeted them unfairly, and put Wray, the man who once led the Bureau, directly in the crosshairs. But Trump wasn't finished yet. Here's where the twist cuts even deeper. The man Trump is now accusing, Christopher Wray, wasn't a Biden appointee, wasn't a Democratic loyalist. He was Trump's own choice. Back in 2017, after firing James Comey, Trump tapped Wray to lead the Bureau. At the time, it looked like a fresh start. But now, Trump is calling Wray a failure, even suggesting he lied over and over about the Bureau's presence on January 6th. In an NBC interview, he said Wray did a terrible job, adding, "We just found out about all of these FBI agents being there." And Trump didn't stop there. He mocked his own decision, blaming the appointment on former ally Chris Christie, saying Wray was Christie's pick, not his. It was a swipe at two rivals in one blow. For Trump, Wray is no longer the man who once carried out his vision. He's part of what Trump calls a chain of dirty cops, tied directly to Comey, and now, according to Trump, exposed. But Wray's defenders see it differently, and what comes next only deepens the divide. So, where did Trump's 274 agents number even come from? It traces back to a conservative media outlet, Blaze Media, which published a piece citing an unnamed congressional source. That report claimed the FBI had embedded nearly 300 plainclothes agents directly into the January 6th crowd. For Trump, it was the perfect smoking gun, a headline ready to be weaponized. But here's the catch. Official investigations tell a very different story. The Justice Department's Inspector General released a detailed report in December 2024. After reviewing testimony, records, and communications, it found no evidence that undercover FBI employees were planted in the crowd. None. Not hundreds, not agents disguised as rioters, just a few informants reporting back. A standard practice in high-tension situations. Former senior FBI officials called the Blaze claim completely and utterly untrue. One told NBC, "I know of no agents who were authorized to be in the crowds on January 6th. So on one side, Trump and his allies pointing to a shadow army of hidden agents. On the other, the official record, saying it simply didn't happen. And into this clash steps a surprising voice, the new FBI director, Kash Patel. Enter Kash Patel, the man Trump handpicked to lead the FBI after Christopher Wray stepped down. Instead of calming the storm, he poured gasoline on it. In a Saturday post on X, he claimed that 274 FBI agents were indeed sent into the crowd. not to stop the violence, but for crowd control. Patel admitted it violated FBI standards and pinned the blame on what he called corrupt leadership. And he wasn't done. In a Fox News interview the same day, Patel doubled down, saying the agents were only deployed after police declared a riot and that their mission went against FBI standards. For Trump supporters, Patel's words felt like confirmation, proof that Trump's warnings weren't just political theater. But here's the problem. Patel has a history of stretching the truth. Critics point to his past false claims, including controversial remarks about the January 6th attack itself. And now, with him sitting in the FBI's top chair, every word he says carries massive weight. To Trump's base, Patel is the insider who finally dared to say, out loud, what they've believed for years. To his critics, he's simply amplifying conspiracy theories from the very office meant to protect the truth. And that clash set off a wave of backlash from Democrats who say this isn't just reckless, it's dangerous. The response from Democrats was swift and fierce. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries went on MSNBC accusing Trump of flat-out lying to the American people. In his words, Trump was trying to justify the unjustifiable, shifting blame for an attack that left over 100 police officers injured and the Capitol in chaos. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who co-led a bipartisan investigation into January 6th, called Trump's claims appalling. She reminded viewers that FBI agents weren't agitators, they were backup. She said they were called in because of delays in bringing in the National Guard, and without them, the situation could have spiraled even further out of control. For Democrats, this isn't just about fact-checking Trump. It's about warning the public. They argue he's deliberately rewriting history, turning a violent assault on democracy into a staged government plot. And with Patel now echoing Trump's line, critics say the danger is even greater. Because it's no longer just Trump's words. It's the FBI director himself reinforcing the claim. But behind the outrage, there's a much bigger fear. That Trump isn't only rewriting the past, he's actively weaponizing the present. Step back for a moment, because this fight isn't just about what happened on January 6th. For Trump, it's about painting the entire Justice Department as a weapon, a tool used by his enemies to take him down. He points to his indictments as proof. 4 criminal cases, dozens of charges, and millions spent in legal battles. Each one, in Trump's telling, is part of a coordinated plot to stop him from returning to power. And now, by accusing the FBI of embedding hundreds of agents inside the crowd, he ties those indictments to something even bigger. A narrative of deep corruption stretching from the Capitol steps all the way to the top of the DOJ. To his supporters, this is the ultimate smoking gun. The message is simple. If the government can plant agitators at a rally, it can plant cases in a courtroom. Democrats and Justice Department officials, of course, see it very differently. They argue Trump is twisting reality, weaponizing distrust itself. They say every new accusation is less about evidence and more about eroding faith in the institutions meant to hold him accountable. But here's the twist. This strategy might be working. Polls show a large share of Republican voters now believe federal law enforcement is biased, even corrupt. And that perception, true or not, is reshaping American politics in ways that go far beyond just Trump. Because if millions no longer trust the DOJ, then every trial, every indictment, every ruling becomes just another battle in a war over truth itself. So here we are. Trump accusing the FBI of fueling the chaos, Wray caught in the crosshairs, allies rallying behind the claims, and Democrats firing back with outrage. On one side, it looks like a bombshell conspiracy. On the other, a calculated political move to stir doubt before the next election. But the real question is this. How much more fuel does this firestorm have left? Will Trump's accusations uncover hidden truths inside the FBI? Or will they backfire, painting him as a man desperate to rewrite history? One thing is certain, this battle isn't ending anytime soon. The indictments, the rallies, the investigations, they're all threads in a story that's only getting more volatile. And as the pressure builds, you have to wonder, what's the next twist? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that when Trump throws down a challenge, The fallout is never small.